Hello, my bets, as I promised in one of the comment sections. And I forgot to turn off my phone. Oh well, we may have beeping and ringing and weird noises between now and then because it's way over there. I know the mic sounds like it's right here, but it's actually way over there. I thought it was the parrots that were going to be a problem. I didn't realize it was going to be my own absent mindedness. Okay, so today, as I promised earlier, I would discuss what it's like to be an author and have dyslexia. I'm an old woman now. I'm not actually that old, but old enough that my schooling predated special education the way we think of it now. If you had dyslexia, you just struggled. I mean, if you had any issues, you just were supposed to struggle through. Maybe some school districts would. A teacher might help you with a little something or other, but there wasn't the concerted effort to discover what your problem was and fix it like there is now. I didn't actually realize I had a problem. I was very, I learned to read early. I was just hungry for knowledge. I always loved, and still do to this day, love knowledge. I love to watch documentaries, and then I take notes while I'm watching the documentary, and I'll go research everything within the documentary that I think could possibly have a different perspective or a deeper cause or issue. And I go off on these tangents when I watch things. My mind is always running, it's always racing. I love to read. I'm trying to get into Audible books, but I'm not an auditory learner. I'm a visual learner, which I know seems an odd thing, but I am. But anyway, when I was a child, I don't remember sitting down with my parents and learning how to read, but obviously they must have because I could read before I went to school. But I always had a problem with individual words, individual type, things like that. I could not look at specifics unless it was totally isolated. So if you gave me one of those index cards, the big with the big letters on it in one word, that I could read. But if there was like the word bee and a picture of a bee, I would either see the word or see the bee, but I could not see them both at once. So I learned, I think, through that to focus on the whole image and just take it in and then separate out. It's something that happens in my mind when I am an extremely fast reader. And I kind of laugh because they had that speed reading course for those of you that are old enough to remember. I can't remember who it was, but they had a speed reading course on TV, and they would tell you to look at paragraphs at a time and try to learn to read that way, and that would teach you to be a speed reader. Well, what I learned was from that is that I actually look at an entire page in my mind. So I look at it, my mind takes a snapshot of it, and then I kind of zoom through and read it, and then I move on to the next. So I actually read a page at a time, and I can absorb the information at a page at a time. And I was a straight A student, so clearly I do absorb the information. But if you ask me to read a single word in that page, everything on the page jumps around. If I blink, the words just move. And if I blink again, they move again. And I can't trust what I'm reading, what the word is. I don't know. It could be one of 5 words. If I've already looked at the whole page, which obviously I have, I will guess what word it's supposed to be, but I won't be sure. There are some words that I eternally pronounce wrong because of trying to single them out and figure them out. And when I learned them, I wrote the letters down wrong. So I will always sit there and before I go to say the word, I'll be like, I'll take a minute and I'll go, okay, wait a minute, that's what it is. And I'll do it right. So as a writer, this isn't a huge deal for writing, right? Because that's just putting stuff on paper and I can look at what I read. But when it comes to editing, it's kind of a nightmare. I actually do have somebody that I hire that's a personal editor because I can't trust my own editing skills. Because I can't go word by word by word through the document. I can look at it and I will immediately spot a misspelled word usually, but I might not spot a misused word because that requires a closer look. So when I go through editing, I'm okay. Like, it was much easier. I know it sounds hard to believe because it was the most cumbersome process in the world. But before everybody went computerized, you used to mail back and forth 500-page manuscripts. And every time you had to make a change, you had to take out a separate piece of paper. You had to write down what page of the manuscript it was, what line, what paragraph, what word, and then you'd write what it used to say, and then you would write what you wanted it to say. But that, for me, was actually easier doing edits than it is to do edits on the computer with Word. For one thing, when you have comments from the copy editor, your editor, the whole page is just too cluttered. There's just too much stuff. I can either see the type, the black type, I can see the orange type, I can see the blue type, I can see the red type, but I can't see all the colors together. It has to be one or the other. So I had to learn how to turn off comments and look for certain comments, and I have all these little tricks when I go through, but editing is something that I have to do in small amounts, short periods of time, because it literally gives me a headache. And I have to go over it several times and look at it and review it and double check it. And then if I have time, I send it out for somebody else to look at it too, because I'm not sure I caught everything. It's hard. The worst thing to do is I just went through this with Loose Cut. They sent me the AAs. The AAs is your last chance to catch issues with the book. Now, you're not allowed to change the story. But, if the wrong there is used, or your, or a comma's missing, or apostrophe's missing, or a wrong name got used, or a space is missing, or there's too many spaces, that's all you're looking for. So you're talking really minute, specific stuff. I really suck at this. I do my best. I go through it as carefully as I can. I go through my finger from word to my finger underneath each word, 1 word to 2 words. But again, remember, I'm trying to do specifics, so that means everything's jumping all over the page. So I put my finger under a word, and I can see that word, but it's very distracting because the other words all around it, above it, beside it, and whatever, they're moving. And if I take my finger off that word, now it'll move too, and I got to go back and start all over again and make sure that I have it. So AAs are my absolute least favorite thing to do, and not because it's tedious, but because I suck at it, and I don't like to suck at things. Something being hard is not a problem, but something that no matter how hard I try, I'm probably not going to excel at, that's a problem. That bothers me. And I always feel like I'm letting down the publisher or the reader or whatever if I miss something. So it's hard, but it's not impossible. I mean, I think I've learned to handle my dyslexia. I've learned to deal with it. I'm not good at standardized tests, by the way. I can never get on the right line with the little dots, multiple choice, and you got to be the right question to the right line on the answer sheet, like the SATs. Oh my gosh, that's such a nightmare. But like I said, I mean, everybody has issues. Everybody has things they have to overcome. This is mine. It's not a huge thing. It just feels really, really huge when you get to the AAs and you have to be really specific and really up close. And I know no matter how hard and how specific I try to be on these things, I'm going to miss something. I know I'm going to miss it. There's just no way around it. It just is what it is, and I'm going to have to live with it. And, somebody will send me an email very helpfully and tell me about it. Now, it won't be fixed if it's from New York, unless it's a huge catastrophe thing. They won't go back and fix it. But I'll know it's there. And it drives me crazy. And I think it's funny because people don't believe that I don't remember what I write, because people used to say, who wrote this? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? And I would say, I don't remember. And sometimes it'd be something that I wrote, because I write in a stream of consciousness. So I don't really remember what I write, but I just know I'm writing something good by the way it feels, the energy when I'm writing it. But I don't really know what I'm writing. I'm not really aware. I'm just typing as fast as I can to keep up with the movie in my head. But I always remember every single error I find in a book, because that's not stream of consciousness. I have to work really hard to find specifics, to see it, right? And so it somehow becomes just engraved in my memory that I made that mistake. And even though I fix it, it's engraved in my memory that I made that mistake in a way that it's not engraved in my memory the good things I write, because that's stream of consciousness. So it's one of the reasons that by the time I'm done with the book, I don't want to look at it again. It isn't because I think the book is bad, but all I can remember of the book are the things that I did wrong. So that's just one of those things, and it's kind of a side effect of the dyslexia, because I have to focus so hard, I memorize what I do wrong. And it's just one of those little side effects of having it that I just put out there. I don't know why I put that out there, but there you go. There's a bit of trivia about my editing process. And that's, I do have dyslexia. It does not stop me from reading as long as I can read a page at a time. It is a problem on computer screens, though. It's always funny. I know there must be a scroll button somewhere or a button to click, but if it's a different color than the rest of the screen, I won't be able to see it. So I have to stop, blink, look for some different color, and then all I can see is that color, like if it's red. And eventually I can find things on the computer screen, but it's always a challenge. But I'm trying to tell you about what it's like to have my type of dyslexia and work in my field. But it's kind of funny. I don't even think about this when I go about my day. It's just how I cope with things. It was a difficulty before Garmin came along, though, because I cannot process street signs if I'm doing 50 miles an hour in time to know whether that really was my turn or not. And there's many a time before Garmin or navigation devices where I would call up my ex-husband and I would say, I think that might have been almost the last exit before I hit New York City, and I don't want to drive in New York City, so could you tell me what exit to get off the highway with and get me somewhere? Which, if my ex-husband wasn't a research and development engineer working with other research and development engineers, should have been a straightforward 2-second answer to the question, except somehow when I made these calls, this became a competition for everybody in the office to find the best way for me to get off this highway. So they're over there on their computers experimenting with different routes, calculating distances and times and road construction, because they're on their computers. And I'm sitting there going, I'm another mile closer to the point of no return where I'm going to be in New York City. And we all know I can't drive around New York City. Time's a ticking. I don't care what the shortest route is. I just want off the highway. And it was always a nerve-wracking experience for me and an exhilarating experience for them. But I have to say, they never failed me. I always ended up where I wanted to go. I had a few detours, some interesting detours, because they were on the computer and I'm on the car, they'd get me off the highway. And I'd be driving because they tell me there'd be a turn at some point, and I'd be about to turn, or I was going to turn. They go, oh, wait a minute, that was a mistake. And I'd already have turned, right? So then they'd have to get me out of whatever situation they got me into. And one time I did get so frustrated, I pulled into a McDonald's and I ordered some French fries, and I just sat there eating while they they went through this because they'd already taken me around 4 or 5 times around the block, and I still couldn't find wherever this road was. They insisted existed. It was a cow pasture, people. There was no road, but they kept insisting there was a road. That one, I might have gotten a little short with my replies after a while, but so that's one of the ways that dyslexia affects me. But with the navigational devices now, you can make a big picture. It's got a big red line, so all you have to focus is on the red line, and it verbally tells you what the name of the exit is. So I'm okay. I can do that. I still make mistakes, and I end up, wandering into new territory now and then, but I know Garmin can get me out, or my navigation system is no longer a Garmin. But I know I can trust in it, and it will eventually get me out. It may take me the long way. It may take me an extra 45 minutes to get somewhere I could have gotten in 10, but at least I know I'm always going to get there. So there you have it. More information than you probably wanted to know. But there I am with my dyslexia and its effect on my minor effect. It really is a minor effect. I'm so used to it by now. But there you go. Before I hang up, I just want to, I guess it's not really a hang up. I push a button and it stops recording, but there you go. I got to stop saying that. I think I'm saying that too much. Anyway, I just want you all, if you're enjoying these little chit-chat moments, to remember to subscribe, because I don't post with any preset schedule. And I think if you hit that little bell and subscribe, it sends you a notification. And, do share, because a lot of people don't know that I have this channel. So I'd appreciate it if you share it so people can know. If you think somebody would like to hear my little chattiness, that would be good. And have a good night. Bye.